Welcome to the Survivor Turning Back Time podcast. I am your host, Stephen Labine, here with always nice and pretty, Jared Sheldon.
I'm always with you, Stephen.
Oh, well, I mean, today, yes. Today.
When you're sleeping, when you are awake, I'm under your bed. I have no landing strip for this bit.
You started at Santa Claus and ended with a demon under my bed.
Stephen.
Yes?
I am your sleep paralysis demon.
Okay. Describe me. Describe to me, sleep paralysis demon. What do you look like?
I am a Teletubby mixed with a Yoshi. It's to drop your guard.
What a horrifying image. Thank you for that, sleep paralysis demon.
Imagine, like, what a real, like, I know, like, we know what a Teletubby looks like, but imagine it's, like, actually, because, like, it's a puppet mascot thing, but, like, imagine that's, like, its real, like, fur skin, or whatever, like, you'd, like, touch it, like, if it was, like, a real living being.
I imagine that the costume feels pretty felty. Like,
right, no, but imagine, like, if it wasn't a costume, like, like, if this was, project that on, or, like, like, SpongeBob or whatever, like,
sure.
Horrifying material to,
yeah.
like, touch and observe move through space.
I want to say it would be kind of like beaver or platypus fur, where it's like that. It's short hair, but it feels more matty and not enjoyable to the touch.
Now you make me want to write, like, some historical fiction of them hunting Teletubbies for the fur trade.
Go on.
I'm becoming as unhinged as Greg.
Yes. So this is our first Dirty Double. We're recording back-to-back episodes, so this is our second episode of the evening.
So from here on out, every odd episode will be unhinged.
Yeah, which also means that this is our first episode that we watched together, because we have made a point to not watch 2 episodes and then go back and talk about the first episode, because we don't want the details being mixed up in our heads. But also this means that we are in the room together, not saying anything to each other.
I mean, we were talking, but we weren't saying anything that we thought would be good podcast content.
Correct. I avoided saying things that were on my brain through most of that episode, so there was a lot of silence.
So the podcast version of me you're hearing isn't that different from who I am as a person. The level of animated I am right now is not a performance. This is who I am.
No, this is just Jared.
And so I have no choice but to react to what is happening in front of me.
Well, the way you say that makes it seem like I am, like, this completely different person. I turn on the thing and suddenly it's... Yeah!
Sorry to whoever's eardrums we just blew out with that.
I did. I might have to edit that
out. No, but you're not. I'm just saying, like, like when people, when you're, meeting someone new for the first time, like, you're putting on a performance, or like when I'm not like this all of the time, but like 75. I'm as much as Rich is naked. I am this.
As much as we see the lovely white thighs of Rich, that's how much Jared is on all the time.
I don't like the construction of that sentence.
Too bad. It's been said. Speaking of things that have been said, if you want to go on your podcast store, your podcast app.
Don't buy podcasts from the store, Stephen. They are free.
Oh, you say that, but suddenly there are things that you can purchase from Apple Podcasts. They've made premium content.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
That's a thing?
That's a thing. You can subscribe to premium content through Apple Podcasts.
We're doing Sirius XM, but worse.
Yeah. Anyway, things that we've said before. If you want to go on and rate us on your podcast app, do that. It helps us out. It helps people find it. Or if you want to tell people, say you have friends that watch Survivor, or you watched it with your parents growing up, and you want to relive those moments with them, send it to them.
What is surprising about plugging this on, like, my own Instagram and stuff is the number of people that like Survivor that are bigger fans of Survivor than I would have expected. And I'm like, oh, you kept up with that show for the last 20 years. That's kind of amazing. Like, you're not the kind of person I would expect to do that. Like, you're not somebody that like has cable anymore or like, cares about reality TV. So that's kind of neat.
Most people aren't as obnoxious with it as I am.
Sure.
Most people aren't going out and buying buffs. Most people are just watching it and saying, yeah, I really enjoyed that. I've loved seeing how this show grows. However, I am not most people. Actually, keep talking. I'm going to put my buff on.
Oh my god. Wait, you have it here?
Yes, I have
it. Okay, well then, while he's doing that, I guess. Yeah, I mean, every podcast you listen to or thing you watch on like YouTube or whatever will tell you to like and subscribe, or rate and subscribe, and we are doing that as well. But it really does help. This is just a fun thing that we're doing. I don't care if there's only one person who listens. We're gonna keep doing it because we enjoy it. But I think this is a cool niche thing that an audience would enjoy if exposed to it, and the only way to get people exposed to it is for people to rate and send it to their friends. And now I have a buff too, I guess.
Everyone gets a buff. I get a buff, you get a buff. You have received the orange buff from 42.
Okay. This is the closest I'll ever be to being on the show.
Yes. Well, no, I don't know, maybe.
Once again, Steven, type 1 diabetes.
Hey, you never know. Maybe they're getting real chill with that kind of thing. I am wearing the season 40, the Winners at War merge buff. It's black. I thought it was really cool, so I bought it.
I mean, maybe if there's a cure for diabetes. Hey, get on that, science.
I mean, ask Jeff. Jeff has a lot of money. Jeff, start funding. Do the Dolly Parton method and just start funding things.
That works.
Yeah.
If anyone out there listening has a pancreas that they don't need, hit me up. survivortbt@gmail.com. Reach out to me. I will take your pancreas.
Okay. We have stalled long enough. I'm going to go ahead and
Nothing like a rambling 10-minute cold open.
I know, right? That we really lost it when I started searching for my buffs in this room. So, yeah, we're starting with the episode. Episode 7, The Merger.
All right, so in the week between last episode and this episode, really not a lot happened in the world, at least not, like, newsworthy. The biggest thing is just Coldplay released their debut album, Parachutes. So, in this week is when Coldplay came to exist as an entity. And I forgot to mention this last time. The number one song of the week last time was still Gabriel Iglesias' song, so I didn't change it over. But this week it was Everything You Want by Vertical Horizon. A song I have never heard of, and a band I have never heard of.
I don't know. That's not ringing any bells in my brain.
I already look forward to next week. This does not stay number 1 on the charts for long. It's like 4 days.
Cool. Perfect. I'm glad. Did you write down what the week was? Like the date range?
Oh, yeah. It is July 15th, I believe. Let me check here. Oh, no, sorry. July 12th through July 19th.
Okay, I'm just trying to like place this in my brain of where I would be at this very moment.
Middle of July, I would have been between, I think kindergarten and first grade. But it could be first and second.
Yeah, I think we were about. Well, obviously we were in the same grade because we graduated the same year. However, it's just really, really interesting to me because there's definite images in my brain of like, okay, when did I have a Nintendo 64? When did I move houses? It just interesting things to me, but to no one else. Continue.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo 64 was definitely out at this time.
Yes, 96 or 98, I believe, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think yeah.
I want to say 98.
That sounds right.
That could be wrong. Yeah. So we are into episode 6. This whole episode.
We are not into episode 6. We're in episode 7.
We are in episode 7. Did I say episode 6 at the start? Well, oh well. We're going on episode 7.
The merger.
The merger. This whole episode is about the merger. I want to say 75% of this episode is all merge things.
So this whole season is novel, right? We're seeing things for the first time, and in some ways it doesn't feel like the show... Like, sometimes it doesn't feel like the show understands that it's, like, being novel, and sometimes it does. And this episode feels like they know that this is kind of like a novel concept. Like, oh yeah, like we're gonna do this like ambassador's retreat. I didn't realize liminal space could be constructed into an episode. This whole episode was liminal space.
It was just so wild because right off from the bat, you're like, okay, I think I know what to expect from a merge. I think I know what's gonna happen, and then it gets all thrown out the window unless you've seen this specific season before. Immediately we're told Jenna and Sean are the ambassadors for their tribe, and they are going to have what is essentially a war council meeting on a sand...
Well, first they're going to go to each other's tribes.
Correct.
To meet them and, like, explore the camp and decide, is this the only time that they get to choose which camp they're living at?
I can't say with certainty. However, it's certainly I don't remember this ever happening where they come together.
So it's not long-lived if they do decide which beach to live at.
Certainly not. But yes, each team appoints ambassadors. They go to each other's tribes and essentially sell each other on the camp. Show them around, say, hey, this is what we have, this is what we don't have, but really we just don't want to move, is essentially what everyone's getting at. We don't want to move camps. 90% of the people do not want to pick up their stuff and go. And honestly, it makes sense. We are humans. Object in motion stays in motion, and object at rest does not want to get the hell out of the camp.
Yeah, and also it's, these tribes are evenly split. It's also a bit of a power thing.
Yeah.
I feel like, you're either welcoming people into your home or you are welcoming yourself into someone else's home.
Yeah.
One of those is a power position.
But yeah, in the process, they're kind of describing each other. They're kind of getting the feel of the other teams.
Jenna goes to Toggy's beach, and Sean goes to Pagong's.
Yes,
because I actually wrote down. I was like, why the hell did they send Sean?
I don't know.
I do.
Okay.
The other 4 of them wanted to strategize.
It's not a bad plan.
I caught it when they were talking about who to vote off next, and Rich talks about, like, maybe Sean, and I was like, oh, that's why they sent him. Mm-hmm. Because they couldn't, if they send one of the 4 of them, they can't have that conversation.
Correct. But also I think it's a nice play to say, hey, Sean, you're important to us. Go be the leader of our tribe. Go away.
It's like when you hand your little brother a controller that's not plugged in, and you're like, don't worry, you're playing the game too.
Oh,
or like when you're like the toddler that has like the fake steering wheel in the car, so they feel like they're driving the car for our non-gamers out there.
Don't you worry, buddy. You're doing your best. Thanks for helping us get to our destination. They're going around. They're seeing each other's camps. Each team has some good stuff. Each team has some things that they could really do without.
Yeah, the editing really leans into how much better Toggy's beach is than Pagong's. I mean, we see the montage of, like, Jenna being wowed by, like, oh, all this fish, and, like, oh, wow, you guys have done, like, a well-oiled machine with, like, this nice music under it.
Yeah.
And then it keeps coming back to Toggy, and it's just the 3 dudes sitting there, like, chewing on tapioca, and you're like, yeah.
I want to say... I'm going to disagree on this just a little bit in that I feel like the camps are pretty well even in that all the amenities were similar. Some things were better than others, but personality-wise and welcoming-wise, Jenna had a much better time at that camp than Sean did at Pagong.
Yes.
And I think it's just they don't know how to talk to Sean. Sean doesn't know how to talk to them.
Sean doesn't know how to talk to people.
That's true. That is very much true. I wrote down things that were good on the Toggy Beach. Fish, the shelter seemed a little more organized in that they had separate areas for separate things. Pagong, they had their toilet that they did not move. So I imagine it was real smelly. But they had like lots of tapioca and
True.
they knew how to find it and weren't doing a great job at selling the tapioca though.
No,
Sean
it
was
didn't
like,
look good at all.
that's edible. My favorite quote from all of this was just meeting everyone and describing each other. I don't remember who said this, but it was used to say, "Rich is naked a lot."
I also wrote that down. I think it was I think it was one of the women on Toggy. I want to say it was Susan
Sounds
talking
right.
to Kelly.
Yeah.
Or Susan talking to Jenna. I mean, maybe Kelly talking to Jenna. I think it was Kelly. Yeah, Rich is naked a lot. It's fine.
It's fine. I hope you can deal with what. I hope you can survive this.
They even had like a little cross stitch that said like Rudy's Rowdy Diner hanging up
Yeah.
next to the kitchen. It was so cute.
That was cute. I really enjoyed that. It was very brief, and you wouldn't have caught it unless you were paying close attention. But it was right there.
One thing I've noticed is that because like we get first impressions again. Mm-hmm. We get first impressions in a way that we don't get in the first episode because we are meeting everyone for the first time.
Yeah.
But we get to see Pagong meeting Toggy and Toggy meeting Pagong for the first time, especially on these ambassador tours. We get to see a lot more of Jenna meeting Toggy because they're more organized and more personable, whereas Sean sits in a corner and chews on a root. And one thing that just struck me is how obsessed everyone is with Rich's sexuality.
Yes.
They are constantly bringing it up. They talk about, like, oh, the girls sleep over here, including Rich, and, like, it doesn't bother Rich. Rich doesn't care, from what we can see. But, like, it's just such a novelty to all of them. I guess that's the word of the episode, novelty. Like, they've never... It's like they're meeting, like, an alien in some ways.
Yeah. They're hanging on it for far longer than they need to. And like these things could definitely be edited out. Like they don't need to be there. It doesn't tell a story. It doesn't help with anything. It's just real cringy looking back on. Was there any other things that jumped out to you for the visits, the ambassadors scanning the beaches?
I thought it was interesting that Jenna's a young mom. I mean, she's probably mid-20s, late 20s.
Yeah. Keep going. I'll look up how old.
And it's never come up. It's so interesting how close these people have kept their personal lives to their chest, where we just see like it pops out like Gretchen, or was it Sue, is like an Air Force. I think it was Gretchen. Went to like Air Force survival school, and it's brought up in like one sentence and then never again. And that's just, it's kind of cool that her goal was like, oh no, I want to show that like, I'm not a victim of circumstance. I'm a young mother that, I don't know if she chose to be a young mother or something, if something happened or whatever, but she's taken it and turned it into her own positive and shaped her own narrative and kind of just like slips that into conversation of like, that's my goal for being here. And in a season where we don't have a lot of people who seem to have goals for being here, although people are starting to learn and remember that there's money involved, that was just kind of cool to see.
Yeah, Jenna's 22.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the youngest ones, yes.
I would assume that she was the same age or older than Greg, who's 24, so that's interesting.
Nope, she is the youngest with Kelly, who's also 22.
We continue my bit of Jared cannot identify ages.
Age is such a hard thing, and I am also in the same boat of people look at me and often misage me for much, much younger, because I sound younger than I am. My favorite was when I was working with professionals, and they went down the line, and they're like, you must be like, is this a college program for you? I'm like, I'm 25. I've been out of college for like 3 years, thank you.
Little did you know Steven's actually an elder god, and has been here longer than any of us.
No, they thought I was in high school. They thought I was 18. I'm like,
Oh, no.
yeah. I was like, that doesn't sound as severe enough as I thought. Yeah, I thought Jenna wanting to be a good role model for her kids. That was cute. It was really nice.
Also, somebody called Sean dumb, and I just wrote down, Sean is dumb.
Yeah, Sue, and I quote, Sean is dumb, describing to Jenna. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful moment.
She's right.
She's absolutely right. Sean is dumb. Sean is playing this game dumb.
Hey, remember the bowling alley?
Yeah, we've never seen the bowling alley
Nope.
since. Just a reminder, Sean is a neurologist. Just thought I'd point that out.
Listen, some people are really good at one very specific thing.
We also talk about the ethics of alliances,
Yes.
which is kind of a running theme for this episode, but it starts around this time. Rudy is all in. He's all in, baby.
Yep.
He says you gotta get a little dirty to win this game.
Rudy might be the most interesting person in the season for me. Because, he is in his 60s, so he was born in the 30s.
Yeah,
The world has changed a lot through Rudy's life.
correct.
He could be like BB. He could just, stomp his feet and dig his heels in and resist change, but he just kind of goes along with it in ways that are really interesting. Like, he has the things that he's stuck in his ways about, like deciding that this is my spot in the shelter.
Correct.
And I will not abdicate it, and I will kick you in the face throughout the night for it.
Hell no.
But then he's a pragmatist above all, and he's not judgmental. Like, he's talked about Rich running around naked. He's like, I don't really like it, but whatever. I like Rudy.
I like Rudy too. He is a quote machine.
Oh, he is the king of one-liners.
He cranks them out. Everything.
Everything to Rudy is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, everything's a pain in the ass, and he says that exact quote at least 3 times in this episode. Mm-hmm. It's a pain in my ass. Jervis is ready to bring the fun. He's ready to bring over the fun to the other tribe because he doesn't think the other tribe has fun.
That was so interesting. He's like, yeah, Sean just wants to have fun. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And also, that's not the goal of this.
Correct.
I think that Sean's a bad influence on Jervis, who might have been turning his game around, if not for this merge. I was kind of hoping that Joel, forgot his name, wow. Joel going home would be a wake-up call for Jervis, and now I think it will not be, unfortunately. Yeah, Jervis bringing the card games and the fun.
Yep. I love it. But yeah, it's a lot of a lot of Jervis in a whole different world than a lot of these other players. Ambassador Summit. So Jenna and Sean they each paddle out to a little sandbar that is about, did they say a mile offshore?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Far enough that it seemed like a trek, but close enough that they could be seen. Their fire could be seen from shore.
At least from the Pagong Beach.
Yes. They got a full dinner with bread, potatoes. Was it lobster? Yeah.
Yeah, we got this really gross shot of Sean slow-mo, like, putting lobster in his mouth. I was like, who is that for?
Delicious.
Who is that for?
And 4 bottles of wine.
Jesus Christ.
4 bottles, Jared, for 2 people.
Why?
I don't know.
You could have done a bottle a person. That would have been fine, if not excessive.
Yeah.
2 bottles a person for one night?
It was a lot. It was very much a lot. And they're tasked with deciding the name, the camp, and from the camp that they don't choose, 3 items to take to the new one. And they have to design a flag.
Yes.
You come in, you're thinking, this is going to take them 3 hours, and then they'll go back. But they are given the whole night. They have a camp set up. They have beds. they kind of and they talk about this. Jenna specifically talks about this. It's kind of weirdly set up in a romantic situation.
It is, which is odd because it's not like they had they knew who the Bachelor was going to be at the start of the season.
No.
They certainly didn't plan all of that in a couple of hours, which means they had this weird romantic setup regardless of who was going to be the ambassadors.
So who would be your favorite odd couple?
Oh, jeez, I need to look at these tribe lists right now. I mean,
right.
Rudy with a bullet.
Here, here's my...
No, I got it.
Okay.
1,000% Rudy and Colleen.
That would be hilarious. I would enjoy that. Rudy Colleen, Rudy Gretchen would be kind of fun.
I think they'd really get along,
they
actually.
might. I don't know why, but they might.
No, wait, I've changed my mind. Rudy Greg.
Ooh, that's really good.
Only one of them's leaving that sandbar alive.
And it's not gonna be Greg. Yeah, so they're staying over the night.
And yeah, Jenna mentions like, this feels kind of weirdly romantic. And Sean's the first incel. Like, Sean talks, he's like already acting rejected when nothing's happened. He like walks up to her, like kisses her on the cheek before they have dinner, which is weird.
It is weird.
Okay. And then like kind of like pouts in his confessional of like tried to make it romantic, like they were trying to make it romantic, but I don't think she's into it. Not talking about how he feels about it at all.
No.
Just kind of like, but like being like kind of pouty, implying that he was kind of hoping something would happen.
Yeah.
And then the next day has this weird diatribe on the beach about like, oh well, there's girls just go for looks. They don't care about personality. Like, you fucking neckbeard.
Just maybe don't expect something to happen on this thing that doesn't matter to you. This is a game.
Or like try to like he's putting it in this camp, and I feel like this is something that happens with those types of like girls just go for looks, blah blah blah. That like instead of it identifying that, hey, there's something in me that has to change, i.e. like they obviously were never going to be compatible anyway, but like, something I am doing is putting off people I'm trying to attract.
No, it's the women that are the problem.
That, or it's something I can't change, i.e. my looks, so I'll blame it on that, rather than something that I can actually work on and improve, like being like an open, vulnerable person or whatever they are looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real bummer.
I'm not saying change yourself to attract people, but like become like a better person.
Yeah. Just be cool with who you are, and maybe things just kind of happen for you. But also, don't expect things to happen, because Jenna was like, nah. Jenna wasn't having
Don't pout when you don't get sex after 4 bottles of wine on a sandbar.
Truth. I will jump back, because what I did notice is that in his introductory speech, this was the most Jeff voice I've heard this whole season.
Yes.
He described it well. He was energetic. All right, guys, this is what's going to happen. I'm like, Jeff, oh, you're figuring it out.
I hope that he figures out that that's the tone soon. Mm-hmm. That's how he said, he was talking to the contestants in a more, I mean, it is a more performative way.
Yeah.
That's fine, and that's kind of what we come to expect in later seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still talking to the camera like it's a fireside chat, like he's addressing the nation.
Yeah.
It's odd.
It is odd, but
and I'm very glad to see this emerge.
This happens, and this is the right track. If producers were to go back through the season and be like, all right, let's watch your highlights, like this is football game tape. This is what we like. Do more of this. And we hope that that is the case. Figure it out, please. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll just say, so they head back to the Pagong Beach and...
Oh, no. Beforehand, everyone is just sitting, waiting for them to come back. They're unclear whether they are coming back that evening, whether they are coming back in the morning. Everyone just kind of sits and waits. And
now, It doesn't seem like they had a timetable that they had to be back by. It just seems like they were told, yeah, come back when you finish it. They probably told them, like, it has to be within 24 hours or something because you have to pace out the pace of the game. I think they were just hungover.
Yeah.
I think they just didn't want to paddle back in the hot sun.
I don't blame them.
Nah.
Also, like, I'm sure that the producers told them, don't go back in the evening. Like, you're either going back before sundown or you're going back in the morning.
Hey, Steven.
Yeah.
Where do you think they went to the bathroom on that sandbar?
Behind the tent is my guess.
Yeah, but what if you had to poop?
We've established
we know
this.
that Sean poops. That is canon.
We've established this. You only poop once every 14 days. That's it. That's all you got to do.
Sean, honey, did you do your Fortnite poop? Not like the game Fortnite.
Oh, no. You've that's the new tie-in, the video game tie-in. They've tied in everything else, so...
This podcast sponsored by Fortnite.
I mean, fine, sure. If you want to support us, Fortnite, go ahead. Tie us in. We'll be the next characters from Fortnite.
Hey.
Right after Patrick Mahomes and Goku. Anyway, they go back and they paddle back together. Jenna and Sean paddle back together to the Pagong Beach and tell them, hey, you have 5 minutes. Go grab these 3 things, your personal items, and your backpack, and we're leaving. That's not very much time.
No.
They really didn't need to do that. They didn't need to put the 5-minute pressure on them, but here we are. Throw your shit together and go.
Yeah, we've been waiting for you for 24 hours, but you have 5 minutes.
Yeah. Good luck. They show off the flag and they name the new tribe Ratana.
Rattata.
No, it's not Rattata. It's Ratana.
It's a Pokemon.
It is not a Pokemon. They named it after the rattan wood.
Yes.
I said rattan. That's not correct. The rattan wood that grows around there. But they just throw on an A for fun.
That was Sean's whole contribution. both him and Jenna say that, and Sean is so pleased with himself. He's like, the A that I wanted to tack on there and make it like...
I added an
cool.
A. Good for you. Good for you, dude. But also, in that confession, they kind of say that Jenna pretty much decided everything.
Yeah. Both of them admit that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Sean got what he wanted in that he didn't have to change beaches.
Do anything?
He didn't have to do anything. That's true.
I like
they didn't have to
bullying
change
Sean.
beaches. Yes, let's bully the person who is not here to defend himself.
Yeah. That's the whole point.
That's what we're doing. Yeah.
Sean, if you're listening to this, you can call in and dispute me.
Yes, Sean, please send in your email to survivortbt@gmail.com. We would like to hear from you. Anyway, they all pack up their stuff and travel over to the Toggy Beach.
I swear I could hear the ghost of Ramona shouting at them that she doesn't want to paddle.
I don't want to paddle. They paddle on a nice little raft, and every time they get on those rafts, it looks like it's just gonna sink.
Oh, it is like held together by like twigs. It's like falling apart.
It's fully submerged.
Yeah.
It's barely keeping them afloat, but it seems to work for them, so who am I to judge? But it was really nice to see Rich go out, like, swam out to, like, 500 meters to go greet them.
Show off.
It was cute.
It was cute.
I liked it. I also noted that Greg is short-tempered today. Greg, in his meeting everyone, was just like, all of his conversations are so short and so glib that I don't know. Is he breaking down?
He's been breaking down for 5 episodes.
Yeah, but like before it was bouts of insanity where he would just go off and do his own thing, shout at the top of his lungs, sing musicals. This seems a different kind of breakdown where it's all internalized and...
Yeah, he was manic. Now he's broken bad, and he has picked an enemy.
Yeah.
He has decided that it is him versus Rich.
It's great.
And I am so excited.
Yeah.
Except then he says later on, and this is jumping ahead, but
Go ahead.
If he's like talking about like alliances, and he's like, if that's how they're gonna play, I hope they vote me off quick. And I was literally like, I mean, I have the power of 20 years of hindsight.
Uh-huh.
But I was like, so you're saying if people play Survivor, you hope they vote you off?
I hope they get rid of me immediately.
Like, what?
I don't want to play this game that I signed up for and have already been playing for 18 days.
Though this was the first episode, it was finally explained to me, like, or at least I finally understood why they don't want to group up on votes. Because they want it to be like this who deserves it. Like they want to vote off the person that they think, or throw their individual votes at people that they think aren't pulling their weight, and that will kind of come about naturally.
Yeah,
It's kind of a classic, like, except large scale prisoner's dilemma. If everyone did that, okay.
yeah.
But all it takes is a very small number, as we will see, to not conform to that way of thinking, to completely take it over.
They're still playing with this idea that it's an honors game that way. But it's not. It's $1 million.
And I don't think... It is an interesting thought experiment. Like, would a season where nobody made alliances at all, and people just voted based on individual performance, personalities, being around camp, would that be as good of TV? I don't think it would, but it would take some of the gamification out of it. And something that has been a real highlight of this season is watching the very personal moments come up. We talk about it in most episodes. That they're not always on. They're not always playing the game.
Yeah.
And that is a positive byproduct of having this sort of quote-unquote honorable approach and just voting for people that you don't like or that don't pull their weight. But you can't do it. It doesn't... Again, it just takes a couple of people to be, as they call it this season, sneaky by making alliances, and the whole thing is kaput.
But you look at it and you say, okay, why not control the one thing that you can control in this game?
Yeah.
And use your brain to say, hey, 4 is better than 1. I'm gonna use the 4 to get me further, especially at a pivotal moment where you have two even tribes that are clearly gunning for each other, but don't want to work together to cooperate to make the vote work in their favor.
Do you have the votes from this episode written down?
Because
they're all over the place.
They are all over the place. I don't, but I can look it up.
I'm curious how many people voted for someone of their own tribe.
Yes. I will look that up.
Okay.
But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everyone moves in. They start adapting the shelter and adapting the camp to more people. All of the women work on the shelter, and all of the men do nothing.
Nothing.
Not a darn thing. Which really is so funny to me. It's showing clips of Jervis playing cards with Rich, and just like having a good time. They're bonding. They're kind of gaming each other and seeing, oh, I think he let me win a couple games. I think Jervis is a really good socialite. And Jervis being like, yeah, I might be doing that, but also, I'm not trying. It's just me. I just am who I am.
And I think I believe him.
I do too. I think he just is that kind of a guy.
Yeah.
He's very personable, and he just is gonna be who he's gonna be.
He's gotten by on charm his whole life, and that's who he is. The only one of the guys I'll defend that, because it literally shows all of them for most of that montage, just like laying around, is Rich, because he does all of the fishing. That sounds like it'd be kind of hard. But except for that, I mean, Greg tries to go fishing, I guess.
He tries. He does not succeed.
Nope.
He gets a sea urchin, which you cannot really eat, as far as I can tell, because there's no actual meat in there. You might be able to get, like, something, and I'm sure it's a delicacy, because everything's a delicacy if you try hard enough.
That's true. Rich says the only thing it's good for is bait.
Oh, that could be true. Not entirely sure.
And Rudy cooks. I guess I should say Rudy cooks as well.
Rudy, the cooking man, and the ladies work on the shelter, and I don't want to say it falls apart because they're actually doing work, but it does fall apart. The roof falls apart, so they are ill-prepared for when rain strikes that evening.
Yeah, Kelly makes a comment about not being good for anything but tying knots. Like, that's what she says about herself. And then immediately makes the roof collapse.
You feel bad because they're correct. They're the only ones doing work, and the men aren't doing jack. It's a good time. Good time for all.
We get through the night, the rainy night where Rudy spends all night kicking people in the head.
Kicking people in the head.
Not on purpose, not out of malice, but he's older. He gets up to use the bathroom a couple times in the middle of the night, and he has decided that he is not going to take up less space because there's more people. He will take up the exact same amount of space, and if you are in his way, God help you.
Yeah, I can't tell if he's not aware or if he just doesn't care.
I think he just doesn't care.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he talks about, I mean, he says, he's like, there's like 5 girls laying on top of me. That'd be great for some of the younger guys, I guess, but it's just a pain in my ass.
Pain in my ass. Just like everything. Pain in my ass.
The Rudy catchphrase.
Rudy, pain in my ass, last name. Yeah. Oh, before we continue, they also have like a nice first night group campfire moment where they're out swapping stories. Most of them about sex stuff, says Rudy.
Yeah, also a pain in Rudy's ass.
Also,
is all of their sex stories that he doesn't want to be bothered with.
Yeah.
Which, fair.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
Okay.
You're old. You're over it. I get it.
A little crotchety. That's fine.
And then we get our first individual immunity challenge. I'm so excited. I love individual challenges. I think they're far more interesting than team challenges in my brain. But that's me personally.
No, I'm thinking through the team challenges that I've seen and the individual ones, and I think I agree. I don't generally care for endurance challenges unless they are well edited. Thinking specifically because I have seen David versus Goliath. The Christian challenge where he's just like talking away. But that's the only one I can really think of. And this is a cool twist on an endurance challenge, actually.
I'm excited because the endurance challenge does stick around for a while. There's a specific circumstance where the endurance challenge is a staple of Survivor.
They still do them now.
Yes, but not in the way they used to. So we'll get to that because it will come back in the season. There will be another endurance challenge. But yes, what this challenge is, the first individual immunity challenge, there are 2 parts. The first part is a hold your breath challenge. That's it. There is a bar underwater you can hold on to, but really you're holding on for dear life. Last 3 people up will move on to the second round.
I'm not even kidding when I say I would have sat this challenge out.
You're not a hold your breath kind of a person?
Dude, that gave me so much anxiety just watching them. I mean, they're free to release whenever they want. There's nothing keeping them under the water.
Yes.
And yet, couldn't do it.
No.
Couldn't be me.
In high school, I went out for the swim team for my senior year of high school. I had never swam competitively before. I had taken swim lessons, but it's not the same, and it was one of the most difficult things I've ever done. However, what I found is I learned a new thing about me, is that underwater, I'm not claustrophobic. Underwater is the most claustrophobic feeling in the world for me. Like, I had every opportunity to just pop my head up, but if you're doing side-to-side lengths underwater as long as you can, my brain goes into panic mode of, I'm gonna die here.
I did the same thing in 7th grade. I did not do swim lessons. I just went, I should do a sport. And I signed up I was like, I know how to swim. Let's swim. And it was me and 2 other kids that were the bad ones, like the ones that were just bad at it. So we just like talked about anime in the shallow end, and like I still competed and stuff. I don't think I won a single race. It was not fun. We are made to be on land. Our ancestors many millennia ago were fish that popped out legs and walked up onto the land, and
here we are.
I'm not going back.
We're not doing it. Everything, not a super interesting challenge. It was fun to watch expressions under the water.
I think it was fun to watch. It's not super fun to talk about because it's just who holds that on longer.
Yeah.
The final 3 because they do the first leg, all 10 of them, and then the 3 that pop up, or the last 3 that pop up, do another leg of it.
So Sean, Jervis, and Greg are the final 3.
Greg even goes up from the bottom of the water like a sociopath. Like he like takes his arm. There's a bar you're holding on to keep yourself under the water, and he just like pulls his arms out from under and just lets himself slowly float up. And I'm like, you've been holding your breath for 2 minutes. How are you not screaming for air, like popping into the surface? He's like, I am done, and just slowly floats up.
This is me. Away.
Greg scares me.
Greg should scare you. But yes, Greg, Jervis, and Sean are the last. So they get bumped into... Your brain immediately goes, okay, they're just going to do another round of underwater. But they had a second part to this. Good for them. There's an underwater ladder to which you had to maneuver along the underwater ladder, releasing buoys along the way. It was a lengthy ladder.
It was really long.
It was longer than it probably needed to be, but it was interesting for the challenge, so good for them. Sean and Greg do a really good job, and it was very competitive, of running along that ladder underwater and releasing those buoys. They were separated by less than a second.
Yeah.
It was incredibly competitive. Jervis, again, does not know how to swim, so Jervis, I don't think, got one buoy. He was holding on for dear life. I hope someone helped him.
The panic he must have felt having to go... Because, like, the first part of the challenge takes place in, like, the square dock that you just kind of, like, go under the water.
Yeah.
And you can stand in it. They stand in it before. But, like, you can't stand out where that ladder was.
Nope.
The panic he must have felt being somebody that's, like, been trying to learn to swim over the last 20 days, and then just, like, all right, go out there and grab a ladder underwater and pull yourself along. Like, no.
I don't want to do
God,
that.
no.
Please, no. Yeah, really threw Jervis into a bad spot. But also, I hope he knew that before. You could have just, like, not done well on the Hold Your Breath challenge. Oh, well.
I don't think they knew part 2 until they finished part 1.
I don't think they did either. Greg wins the first immunity challenge, individual immunity ever.
Yep.
Good for him. Wins the new individual necklace, which Jeff calls a talisman.
It's not as problematic.
It's not as problematic. If I were to describe it, it looked like the mask that follows you in the Crash Bandicoot games.
Yep.
Like, it almost identical, minus it wasn't as bright colors. But yeah, it was a face on a necklace. Cool. Yeah, and they jump immediately from that challenge into the tribal council.
We don't get to see them have any conversations.
No conversations. It's just right in. They have some brief...
It feels like we could have removed a couple of minutes of them eating a lobster dinner.
Yeah.
To have a couple of minutes of conversation. This is... I joked when we were watching the episode, this is like the one comment I made that I knew I wanted to say again on the podcast, but like, this is the first ever time the audience has been blindsided. Because like, I was like, I have no idea who's going home.
I don't know what's going on here. It's they don't talk about it.
Nope.
In a situation where this is important, this is an important vote, we just gloss over it completely.
This might be the most important vote of the season thus far.
Yeah.
And no, like, we don't get any insight. The only thing I can think is it would have been too obvious.
Yeah, I mean, they briefly talk to a couple people. They have one-on-ones and say, Jenna doesn't really care who goes home. Doesn't matter which team. She'll vote out the person who should go home. Greg doesn't want alliances, but no one feels safe. No one is really sure what's going to happen. But yeah, it's a general... It's a cluster. Everyone kind of votes as they're feeling.
Except for 4 people.
Except for 4 people who are playing the game.
Yup.
I will... Sidebar before we get into the votes. Jenna mood. Beautiful. Just held up the vote and mood.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I kind of hope she does that every vote until Jervis goes home.
Yeah.
And she just keeps going for Jervis and keeps mooing. Because, like, yeah, F you, guy.
Yeah. And it is revealed that Sean is going to vote in alphabetical order down the line. Sean, why?
Why? You're just taking up a spot someone else could have had at this point. You're making a bowling alley. You're showing off your fishing rod that's never caught a fish to Greg. You're voting alphabetically. You are
Super Bowl.
griping about why women don't like you. Why are you here?
Yeah, he really is just dragging on longer than he needs to be here. It's bad. It's every time you see more of Sean makes you like him less in this game.
Yes, 100%. In the first episode, I was like, "Oh, this guy's kind of interesting."
Yeah.
And the second episode, I was like, "Okay, he's a little eccentric, but he's trying some stuff out." I thought the fishing pole was really cool. And now he's just kind of sad.
Well, he lost his buddy. He can't. He's on his own. He knows he's on his own. Everything's sad. But this is weird. This is the weirdest tribal I think I've seen, because as we were watching Jeff reveal the votes, we looked at each other because it was one person, a different person. In individual votes across the board.
Yep. No, there was not... Almost everyone got 1 vote, except for Gretchen, obviously, who got 4.
Yes.
And no one else got a second vote at all. There
Correct.
was no overlap, which is statistically very unlikely, even at random votes.
Incredibly unlikely. Really impressive. Good for you, but also, why not just talk to someone so you can coordinate this very important vote? I've said this multiple times this episode, but come on, man.
Even if you don't want to do it from a gameplay perspective, just getting rid of somebody that you don't like, you think you'd want to talk to someone else. Now, I do remember one person that definitely voted for somebody that was on their tribe, which was Jervis, because he voted for Greg and had to cross it out and write oops. And vote for somebody else because he forgot that they had immunity.
Okay, I have the list of votes. It's, like I said, it's real interesting. Jervis voted for Sue after he crossed out Greg. Gretchen voted for Rudy. Colleen, Richard. Greg for Jenna. Jenna for Jervis. Sean for Colleen. And the final one, Kelly, Rich, Rudy, and Susan all put votes on Gretchen.
What was the second to last one before we got to the Gretchen votes? Or the last one before we got to the Gretchen
Sean
votes?
for Colleen.
Right, because he's doing alphabetical. So that means Greg, Jenna, and Jervis voted for people on their tribe. Or Jervis crossed it out and wrote someone else down. Mm-hmm. So we'll say 2.5. And that's all Pagong.
It's all Pagong.
No one on Toggy voted for a Toggy member.
No, because they were all in unison.
Except for Sean.
Except for Sean, who voted alphabetically. It's crazy to me that they're talking at the big game of we have to stick together as a group of 5, and then they don't do that.
Yeah, they do immediately throw that plan in the dumpster.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
And I don't know why Gretchen was targeted. This is part of the problem of us not getting to see the conversations after immunity. I don't know why they picked Gretchen at all. I guess they thought that they obviously were going to pick somebody on Pagong.
Yeah.
Or Sean, maybe, but I don't think, I think they were like, he's a useful idiot. And they can't vote for Greg. So that leaves Jervis, Colleen, Gretchen, and Jenna. Jervis seems like a more obvious vote there to me. if you're worried about somebody who's going to get individual immunities, maybe they're not thinking that far ahead. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're like, well, Jervis is a little will be a little more easy to get rid of because he's just dicking around playing cards. I liked Gretchen quite a bit, so I was kind of sad by this vote.
I like Gretchen too. I think it was a strange vote, and it didn't seem like a power play by any means, but maybe they just came to a group consensus and went with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, Gretchen, I didn't do a whole lot of digging on Gretchen. There wasn't a ton of stuff, but I also didn't look that long because we did 2 episodes today.
Right, we'd have to figure that out.
However, interesting fun fact, Gretchen appeared on the post-Survivor post-Survivor episode of The Weakest Link.
Oh.
The original iteration of The Weakest Link, they had all Borneo casts. I was going to say this earlier because there were other people who have been voted out, including Sean, Joel, and Ramona, because I'm not entirely sure if they say who the winner is. So I'm not going to advise you go watch that.
I'm not going to. Yeah, I don't want to miss that.
Just really, really interesting. We will watch that at some point because it is on YouTube. I went back and I snuck a little peek of that. We can watch that after the season. Also another show I kind of enjoyed. It
was a good one.
Quick-paced trivia show. They brought it back with Jane Lynch as the host.
That's a great casting.
It is a great casting. Good for them. Yeah, honestly, not a whole lot of other interesting facts about it. Fun time. That's the end of episode 7.
Well, my couple bits here at the end.
Oh no, tell me, who's your protagonist?
It feels like it should be one of the 2 ambassadors, but it's not. It's Rich.
It's Rich?
I mean, Rich is the one leading the conversation amongst the 4 of them. His little rivalry with Greg and having Greg go off and do the fishing, which doesn't work for Greg. And again, being the person that really drove the vote this episode, even though we didn't get to see it, we got to see the little conversation with the 4 of them when Sean was gone. And maybe part of the reason we didn't see anything is maybe they didn't talk after that. Maybe they decided their vote before they merged, so that way the 4 of them weren't going to be seen as talking, so they had that obfuscation.
Okay.
That's my only guess why they would show us literally nothing. Yeah, so I think Rich was the protagonist of this episode. It's the second time I feel like he's been the protagonist of the episode. But no one else really, I guess, like honorable mention to Jenna again, as the person who made all of the decisions for the merge.
Correct. And Jenna made so many decisions in this episode.
But because everyone else was just kind of aimless, that wasn't in that main 4 alliance.
Yeah.
As far as Gretchen goes, I think she would be a pretty good contestant, honestly. She has... Her biggest flaw, I think, is having being a little too particular about things. Mm-hmm. She talks a lot about like wanting things to be clean in camp, or like I'm really excited to go over there because they have things hung up. And she also has the Midwestern trait of fence sitting, where she'd be like, I don't really want to go to the other camp, but it'll be nice that they have this. Like, she's always playing both sides of her own argument, which feels just very Midwestern.
It's really interesting because she, earlier in the episode, said she feel like she would have fit in better at the other camp.
I agree.
I agree, too. I think she could have, if this was a later game of Survivor, she could have came in and been like, hey, I want to be in your alliance. I want to go forward with you guys. Yeah. I think you're much better for me than this group of people is, and it will do us both a service to continue in this path. But nobody thinks to do that because this is season number 1.
Yeah, and the alliance of 4, because alliances are taboo amongst a lot of the other members, don't want to radicalize everyone against them. Yeah. So they can't approach somebody that they think could work with them. Even if they had that read at all with Gretchen. I don't know that they did.
I don't know that they did either. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think she's really sharp and insightful, and as long as she could have stronger or communicate stronger opinions to her tribe, could do pretty well in a future season.
Absolutely. But we'll never know.
Or will we?
Oh.
There are returning... I'm wondering if anyone from Borneo returns. I'm very fascinated.
The answer is yes.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you who.
Okay.
Because, I mean, 5 seasons in, you get an all-star season.
Sure. So I guess you have to, yeah.
You have to. Like I said, not going to tell you who.
Okay.
But you will get some returners, and it's... I'm just thinking of these returners and some of the blow-ups that happen in that season. It's just very interesting how the dynamics between that and this are. Like I said, not going to go in any further. No questions asked. Let's end the episode. So thank you for sticking around for Survivor Turning Back Time podcast, episode 7. I'm having fun. Are you having fun, Jared?
This is a great time.
It's a great time. Just going back and watching these shows. At first, it was a project. It is a love letter to Survivor a little bit on my part, and a little bit more exploratory for you. But you're digging in. You love this too.
Oh yeah, and I'm a very analytical person. I love to dissect media and shows and all of that. So, on top of just Survivor being something I really, really fell in love with 4142, it's fun for me to get to take something that has such a long storied history and kind of poke at it and see what aged well, what didn't, what sticks out to me 20 years later.
Mm-hmm. And as always, chime in, say things
Please.
to us. Twitter @SurvivorTBT, at our email survivortbt@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts, send us your opinions, send us how you think these people would have done in later seasons, or if you know these things and you know who comes back, and you can say, hey, let's compare these two versions of this individuals. Do that. Send that to the email, send that to the Twitter, because those things go through me. Jared doesn't see any of that.
We'll hold it for a while, but we'll talk about it eventually.
Oh yeah, we will talk about it eventually. Or I can communicate back with you. Easy back and forth there.
Please talk to us. We're very lonely.
Thank you, Jared. But yeah, just excited. Do you have anything you want to promote, Jared?
Yeah, I want to promote paying your fantasy football dues. If you are in a fantasy football league and your commissioner has forgotten to talk to you about your dues, just pay them proactively.
This sounds a little pointed, but go ahead.
I'm right at you,
Cool,
Steven.
thank you.
No, I'm kidding.
You say that as if I'm not the one who's usually responsible for those, and you have to track down everyone else.
Yeah, no, I'm not worried about you. If you're listening to this and you're in my fantasy football league and you haven't paid me yet, pay me.
Pay me, please. Cool. I don't really have anything to promote other than my normal social medias. If you would like to follow me on Instagram, @SteveTheMusical. If you like watching video games on Twitch, I am @SteefPlays, SCHTEEF Plays. I'm on TikTok as Steef, SCHTEEF. Interact with me there. Otherwise, we love hanging out with you. Just so excited to be here with you guys. Thank you for listening to us. We are on week 7. There are 15 episodes of this first season? No?
12 including a reunion show, so 11 total.
You're right, because there are not that many cast members. It doesn't matter. We're closing in. We're halfway through season 1. So much more on the way. Stick with us. Love it. For now, bye-bye.
Eat your vegetables.